All right, so welcome to another exciting episode of the Men's Lounge. My name is Nanaya Odami, your host, and a very good evening to all of you who have been able to take off your time from your busy schedules to be part of us this evening. Remember, every Thursday at 9 p.m., we're going to come your way with very, very, very exciting topics and discussions to best fit the society and everything that we deserve to know in our societies. And so last week we discussed paternity leave, and it was interesting that a lot of men seem to tag along the fact that we also need paternity leave. So we are starting with hoping to get a 1 month and maybe 3 months and maybe 6 months and later probably start getting paid for some of these things. And so let me also remind you that at GMABC, today we're actually going to discuss something that has to do with road accidents and then motor insurance. So road accidents is a worrying social problem for countries across the world. The overall damage of road accidents causes can never be estimated. Deaths and property destroyed are unimaginable. Statistics show that many of the common causes of collisions are preventable. Of course, they are preventable. Road accidents are known to be one of the major causes of deaths in Ghana. This month, as part of our themed month, you know, at GMABC, every month, we come up with a theme to discuss a particular topic that affects our society. And so road accidents are known to be one of the major causes of death. I already mentioned that. This month, as part of our themed month on GMABC, we have decided to chart the path of preaching road safety and arriving alive throughout this month and the rest of the year. Remember, December is around the corner, and definitely it gets a bit busy and a bit unfortunate with so many things that you need to know. However, let me just remind you of something. I'm sure you have noticed that COVID cases are beginning to soar gradually higher. Please, 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 this is a very, very important plea from us to you. Let us respect the protocols. Let us not put them away. You can see we are wearing our mask. There's hand sanitizers and everything we know we have to do. All the things we were doing even during the lockdown period. Please, let's go back to them. COVID is real. It's still lurking around the corner. There's a second wave. Other countries are already going on lockdowns. We don't want that in Ghana. So let us take this thing serious and protect ourselves. Stay safe. That's the most important thing. I'm gonna go on my very first break. When I'm back, we'll go straight to the discussion and I'll introduce my guest. Please stay with us. And so welcome back. Before I proceed, let me just let you also know that today is World Pneumonia Day. So championing the fight against pneumonia. Pneumonia, I'm sure you know what it is. If you don't know, it's a kind of disease. It's very, very, it's quite terrible. It's taking a lot of lives. So pneumonia is the single biggest infectious killer of adults and children, claiming the lives of 2.5 million, including 672,000 children in 2019. The global pandemic is dramatically increasing pneumonia deaths from COVID-19 and other causes. COVID-19 could add 1.9 million to deaths toll this year. This could increase all cause pneumonia deaths by more than 75%. No other infection causes this burden of death. Let's stop pneumonia. Every breath counts. Okay, so let's stop pneumonia because every breath counts. So in the studio today, I have with me two gentlemen. I have with me Mr. Robert Boateng, the General Manager for Dunwell Insurance Company Limited, and I also have lawyer Kwame Kondua Etuahene. He's the Communications Manager, National Road Safety, and there is more. I'd ask him to tell us when we get there. Gentlemen, Akwaba. Yeah. It's good to see you. Kondua. Mr. Boateng. Yeah. Boza. You know what this COVID has done to us. Now I can't be doing all the. I need to be punching. Welcome, Mr. Boateng. It's good to see you. Dunwell Insurance.
Yes.
And all the motor insurance and all that stuff. Well, today we'll be talking a lot about it, especially against the various road accidents that we come to. And I'm happy to have Kondia here with us so that he can give us a lot of statistics when it comes to road accidents. So, gentlemen, before we delve into the discussion, can you kindly give us some statistics on road accidents from January up to date?
Well, so good evening to your viewers. I think up to the end of the third quarter, September, we had unfortunately recorded about 10,100 crashes.
Wow.
Which resulted to 1,828 death cases across country. If you compare that situation to the same period of last year, there's just a very marginal rise in the numbers. But as we say all the time, if you look at the trends and the figures, it appears that every day 6 of us get to suffer the unfortunate consequence of accidents. About 150 in a month, close to 2,000 on the average in a year.
Wow.
But if you look at the trend, as much as these numbers are very uncomfortable and unpleasant to say the least, given that the reasons why they occur are very avoidable if we were to do a number of things right. If you look at the trend, you would appreciate that there's a certain level of stability and a bit of decline over the last 6 to 7 years.
Wow. So even these figures you have mentioned have an indication of a decline.
Yes, there's been a steady. When you look at the curve,
okay,
it's coming down gradually. Given that there's been a corresponding increase in the number of vehicles. In fact, every year we add about 10 to 12% of existing number of vehicles onto the road. So on the average, about 150,000 vehicles get to be added to
year on year
the national fleet.
I see.
And our population numbers are also
yeah.
going up. But if you compare that to the number of crashes and also even the deaths, in terms of absolute figures, fatality rate, which is the number of deaths per every 10,000 vehicles, and the proportion of our population at risk per every 100,000, there's a certain decline. We are not happy where we are yet. We think that 2,000 plus is way too high.
Yeah.
And it's important that we all begin to feed into the discussion to see what we can do collectively in order to arrest and possibly influence a much bigger decline than we have recorded over the last period of the year. I mean, this year is particularly constraining because, again, if you look at the last 20 years, with the exception of 2004, in every election year as compared to the preceding year, we have recorded more incidents.
Okay.
So when you compare 91 to 92, you compare 95, 96, 99, 2000 in that order, you notice that for some strange, unexplained reason, in election years, the numbers are a bit on the high. Others have blamed it on increasing motorization because political-related activities take place across the country at such frequency as is not recorded in the preceding year. We keep our guards down. The enforcement agencies are unable to do as much as they are supposed to do. We relax the rules, and the consequences turns out to be very unpleasant. So that's the situation, unfortunately.
What would you say constitutes to this occurrence, this accident? Most of these, I mean, what would you say constitutes to them?
I think that there's a lot that has been done. I mean, the key contributory factors.
Yeah.
Speeding is such a major issue for us in this country. So yesterday, for us, we're having a discussion on the nature of our roads. If you look at the data quite closely, in fact, 70% of all the accidents that leads to deaths don't occur on the bad roads. They occur on the good roads, on the roads that are flat, marked with very good signals and the rest of them. What that means is that the more the roads get better, the more indisciplined the users of the roads become. So the road is flat. He has a very good distance in sight, and he chooses to ignore all kinds of rules that will keep him safe. He elects to speed at will, ignore all the signals. He overtakes at reckless abandon, and the consequences are there for us to see. So the bad roads are not, at least from the data, they create a bit of discomfort to drive on a bad stretch. So
you won't even be forced to speed. You have to take your time.
Yes, but the better or relatively good roads have turned out to be the trouble spot for us.
So you'd realize that, obviously, I'll come back to some of the contributing factors, but you realize that obviously it looks as though the attitudes of the drivers or the road users are not changing. what could be the reason? And this one, I would like to hear from Mr. Boateng also. What could be the reason? Is it that people are not being penalized enough? People just have bad attitudes? What could... I don't get it.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that, like he was saying, where I sit, all the claims actually come on my decks. I mean, the customers that have issues with the accidents and all that. And overspeeding, as he talked about, comes as top, as he's saying. And then driver errors in general, if I put it together, it means that either we are not really trained well, or is the mindset or attitudinal change, which is difficult because they see what is happening. I mean, on TV, I mean, this is social media and all that. And it doesn't really stop them overspeeding. You understand? So for me, I think for example, what we're doing, we have to keep on sensitizing the public. I mean, advising them why it is important to be safe, because the best driver is not the one who actually drive fast and at the end of the day send the passengers to the graveyard.
Yeah.
But the best driver is the person who actually arrives safely.
Safely, yeah.
You understand? So for me, we will keep hammering on why there's the need to actually be safe all times.
Kunja, what about the laws? You think the laws are loose, and for that matter, people just disregard the traffic rules?
Yes, to some extent, I would agree that we need to, the quality or extent of sanctions, and also our whole attitude to enforcement.
Yeah.
You see, not too long, about 10 or so years ago, out of public outcry, we're forced to go review the penalty regime for these offenses. It must have been in 2007 or so. So that an offense which naturally would have returned a penalty of 24,000 Ghana cedis, for instance, for a serious offense like dangerous driving or the likes, was somehow reviewed to allow for a fine of just about 1,002 or 2,000. So somehow you get the impression that, and in that order, you get the impression that if the penalty is not severe, it somehow provides encouragement for drivers to abuse the law.
After all, how much am I going to be charged?
But that notwithstanding, even at this present rates, we also believe strongly that if we were to intensify enforcement in ways that even the rates as they are today, drivers begin to pay for their reckless conduct on the road in one form or the other, maybe we'll see an improvement. In recent times, we have seen the court, for instance, ban outright drivers from driving. As an incident on the Takrady Accra Road, is it Dompasi also, one of these gruesome accidents this year.
Yeah, a couple of months ago in the court, after the old toll booth.
Yes.
I remember that one, yeah.
The court was firm to decide that the driver should not come close to a vehicle again. So he's been banned from driving for life.
Okay.
If the court begin to send these sort of signals, then when we get by the steering wheel, we'll begin to take a second look at the way we interact with the roads.
I get that. But Mr. Boateng, from where you sit, you know, I know a lot of these cases come to you, especially for claims.
Yeah.
Amongst most of them, or all of them, which causes of accidents do people come to you with for claims a lot?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier on that driver errors actually come top because you're looking at overspeeding, that is one. You're looking at tired drivers. They are tired, but they don't rest. Sometimes they say, okay, let me just go one and come and then rest. But you can't cheat nature. When you read the stories, because there's a claim form that asks them to tell us the story, what actually happened. Some of them would come like, oh, I saw the road was, I mean, empty. There wasn't any car. So I was driving. All of a sudden, there was a collision.
Where from the collision?
You understand?
You
so when they describe it like this,
yeah,
you realize that they were sleeping.
they were sleeping, yeah.
You understand? Sometimes they said, I saw a goat. Sometimes it's a deep forest. And then you say you saw a goat and you wanted to just swerve the goat. Meanwhile, there's no, I mean, town around that place. So it tells you that the person was tired and probably dozing off. You understand? And again, when it comes to even the vehicle itself, maintenance is a problem. They will not check their brakes. They will not check their tires. They would just use the vehicle because they want to make sales. You understand? So that's also a major reason or cases that come to our decks. And even the road that he suggested that it's not come on top. But where I sit to, the road also plays a major causes when it comes to road traffic accident. Because countless times they will say that, oh, I dodged a pothole. You understand? I swerved. The road was narrow. Fine, the road could be nice, maybe tarred, but look at, it's a highway. So you realize that the dual carriages don't normally have that kind of accident. But you see, it's just a single lane. I mean, and when they are speeding, every little mistake that they do, they will either veer off
the road or hit someone.
Or collide with another oncoming vehicle. Because elsewhere, highways are always dual carriage or multiple lanes. You understand? So for where I sit, I think that's also a major challenge that we have to deal with.
Interesting. So, you know, when you're speaking about statistically, what the figures have been like, especially up to 2019. Even though it looked as though they're on the curve, it's reduced. The numbers still are not good enough. We wish it was much lesser. But I'm also aware that there was a road safety campaign that was actually run by your outfit this year. Was launched by your outfit this year. I think it's Arrive Alive or something. Would you say it didn't have any impact on what the impulse of the message was?
No. So the campaign has just taken off. It was launched in October.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we've just gotten into the groove yet. We're running it intensively for the next 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
So I'm sure when we return in the early part of next year, we'll be able to assess the impact. But I must be quick to say that, you see, campaigns alone, from experiences we've seen elsewhere, in a safety environment, we talk of the 4 E's. Education, enforcement, engineering, and engagement. So we could do as much sensitization as we want. If there's a failure to complement the effort from the enforcement side of the chain, there will be consequences. So in as much as we do, and today, you see, if you went out, these drivers who get involved in these incidents, you see, if you put them to the test, I encourage you, you get some reporters on the street, put a mic to them, try to test their knowledge. They have acquired sufficient knowledge. But when they get by the steering wheel,
everything changes.
For some strange reasons, they get to do other things. Maybe because the enforcement regime is not as punitive, or we haven't done as much in that space. But we need to continuously step up the education efforts, so that constantly we can remind them of the good things that are required of the road. And I would want to agree with Mr. Boate that yes, the road network, even though I said from the beginning that the data suggests that most of these crashes occur on straight and seemingly good roads, the evidence also is that if the road networks are expanded to allow for more dualized network, the situation could be different. If you look at the Nsawam section of the Kumasi-Accra highway, the before and after points to the fact that when it became dualized, the situation has improved significantly. but you may also want to look at the motorway, which has been dualized for quite a long time, but is also one of the most dangerous routes in Accra.
Yeah.
So there must be a balance.
Yeah.
In as much as we strongly support the call for dualization of at least some of our major routes, we must also step up the sensitization and also encourage the enforcement agencies to bring to bear their side of the responsibility.
Indeed. I also kind of agree, especially when it comes to these the roads. I have been to places where I see speed ramps. Trust me, Mr. Boatin and Kundia. Some of the speed ramps I see, I think they are rather mountains that we just build on the. Yeah, because you get on the speed ramp and drop, and you feel your shocks calling you, telling you I'm tired. I mean, and it's that bad. And I definitely also know that those kind of ramps are not approved. They are probably by the people in the environment
by the community.
Yeah,
they're all engineered.
They're all engineered, and it's such a big problem.
Yeah.
People bump into it and they fly off the road and all that. It's really bad. But of course, it comes back to not speeding. If you're not speeding, you also take your time and then get on that. Yeah.
And in fact, in 8 or 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10 situations where you have found the unengineered speed ramps, it is often the case that drivers have knocked inhabitants down.
And so out of anger,
out
they build
of anger
that.
and out of their own desire to find solutions
Yeah.
immediately, they try to mount those unapproved speed ramps. So it's down to the way we drive, especially when we get into these communities that traverse our highways. We must bring the speeds down as much as possible.
Okay. Well, so I'm going to have to. I wanted to talk about. We hear all these things, and then we also hear defensive driving, and then it makes me wonder. Okay, so we all hear about defensive. What exactly is this defensive driving that it seems as though we are not even doing, and people are just hitting people here and there, colliding into other vehicles and all that?
Well, so we advocate for defensive driving because we think that when you get into the road, our thinking is that there's always, quote and unquote, a crazy guy on the other side. And you must drive with that in mind. In what ways can you drive to keep yourself safe? You must have good anticipation. You must observe the environment, keep reasonable distance between your vehicle and the other vehicle, and adapt your driving to the weather condition, so that in the event that there is an obstruction, you would have taken good note ahead of time and limit the dangers that may be associated with it. And all of us going through driving school, I mean, that's what we were taught, and as part of our advocacy, we take to remind the drivers quite often so that they cannot be too certain about their experiences, in order not to drop their guards.
Somebody will tell you, I've been driving for the past 20 years. It's not enough to keep you safe. So I remember one of my bosses, I'll come to Mr. Boatin, one of my bosses telling me that, Ernest, when you are driving, you have to know that whoever is ahead of you and probably behind you, consider the person as a fool. And then I asked myself, so what if the person behind me or ahead is also thinking the same? He started like, he said I should go and answer that question to myself. He said, what do you want to say something?
Yeah, I remember when I went through driving school, I mean, in the 90s, what I was told is that take everybody as mad. On the
oh, you were told the same?
Yes, I was told the same, that everybody is mad.
Including you.
Well, he didn't say I was. But I think also that alcohol use and other drugs is also up there when it comes to the causes. So we need to tell our drivers that when you drive, you don't drink. When you drink,
you don't drive. I think it's a campaign that's been there for quite a long time.
Well,
so Mr. Boatin, let's come to insurance.
Yeah, sure.
What does the law, say about these motor? What's the law about motor insurance?
Yes, thank you. I think before 1958, lawyer, if I'm wrong, you correct me, that the act was passed. You could drive without insurance you could just drive without insurance. And if you knock down somebody or injure somebody with your vehicle, and you go to court and you are fined, you could just say that I don't have it, and you may be scot-free. But since the passage of that law, 1958, Road Traffic Act, third-party insurance, it means that you can't move your car without insurance, not even from your garage to just outside. So you must have insurance in place before you move your car.
Okay.
And that insurance you're talking about is just the third-party insurance. You can choose to add your car to it, and then you go for the comprehensive. So I don't know if I should go on and talk about...
No, let's go on.
Yes. So for insurance, motor insurance, you basically have 3 types. You have the third party, which I've just mentioned, third party fire and theft, and then comprehensive.
Okay.
For the third party insurance, it covers, as we say, that all the people and properties who are not part of the contract between you, the client, and the insurance company. So for example, if you have your car, maybe you drive Mercedes, you go and take this third party insurance, your Mercedes is not covered.
Okay.
And then you yourself, the owner or the driver, you are not covered. So I can give you a scenario. Let's say your Mercedes, you were traveling to Kumasi with your wife and 2 kids. And probably along the way you pick a friend as a gratuitous passengers, free, I mean no charge.
Yeah.
When there's an accident and then your car is damaged, your, touch wood, all the passengers are injured, your car will not be paid because it's a third-party insurance. You will not be paid. Your if you are being driven by a driver, he will also not be paid. Your wife and kids will be paid because they are regarded as third party.
Third party.
And then the person you picked
on
the way will also be covered.
Okay.
Before last year, July, the compensations or the benefits were unlimited for third parties. So for example, I can tell you that we paid a single claim, third party claim, for 1 million Ghana cedis to one person. This was a trotro vehicle which got an accident with 23 persons on board. So only one person, and the case is still there, we haven't finished. Only one person who came, we paid as much as 1 million.
Wow.
And the premium is how much? 300.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes less.
Yeah.
So that is what we are talking about. So that it covers injuries and death to the person.
Okay.
And then it also covers property of the third party. You understand? So we call it third party property damage. And that one, there's a limit. The limit is 5,000 on the market.
Okay.
But for us, we can increase that limit to any amount that you want.
That's very interesting.
So that is the third party. So I can add just a few.
No, before you proceed, I'm going to hold you on and go for my very for a break. When we're back, we'll take it from the other 2 kinds that you mentioned, the comprehensive and then the third party fire and theft. Yes. Yeah. So please stay with us. We'll be back shortly. All right, so welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are still on Men's Lounge on a Thursday evening. Definitely you expect to see us to bring you a lot of information. So we are discussing motor accidents and insurance, and we are here with Mr. Robert Boateng, and then I'm also here with lawyer Kundua to have a very good discussion. So far, it's been so good. We've learned a lot. Before we left for the break, Mr. Boateng, you were telling us about the various covers, and we are done with that. So what are the other 2?
Yes, before I go to the other...
But before you even proceed, I remember you mentioned that until last year also, there was no limit on the third party
injuries or death.
But now there is.
Yeah, now there
is there a specific value or?
Yes, NIC, National Insurance Commission, has come up with some thresholds that we can, because
in percentages.
No, absolute figures.
Absolute figures. Wow.
So for motor insurance, most of the insurance companies were run at loss because of these huge sums of money that they pay. So they came up with a directive which started in July 2019.
Okay.
Called CAP 2019. But for injury claims, some of them are, you call it latent claims. It could linger on for years. You're still paying claims that actually the incident happened somewhere in 2013, 2012.
I see.
You understand? For if the person had reported, because the time for reporting is up to 3 years.
Okay.
And if it's property damage, it's 6 years. So once the person has reported or notified the insurance company, it can be there for so many years, and you can't say that you no pay.
Okay.
Okay, so back to the second type of motor insurance, which is called third-party fire and theft. So all that I said under third party is covered under this one.
Okay.
Plus fire or theft of your vehicle.
Of whose vehicle? The
of
third party?
The insured, the client's vehicle.
The client's vehicle, okay.
You understand? The first one I said that your vehicle is not covered.
Okay.
You yourself, you're not covered. It's only those persons or properties who are not part of the contract.
Okay.
You understand? So that third party is covered. That is why you call it third party fire and theft. So fire to your vehicle and then theft to your vehicle is covered under that policy.
All right.
Now the third one, and of course that is the comprehensive, which covers all that I've said under third party and then third party fire and theft, plus all accidental damages or loss
to the contract holder,
to your vehicle. But here still, the driver is not covered. That is the issue. I think everybody gets it wrong. I mean,
you saw my reaction because I'm surprised. How is it that the driver isn't covered?
You, the driver, or the owner of the vehicle, is still not covered under the comprehensive insurance. Now, because of maybe market conduct, now we have what we call personal accident.
Okay.
Which is up to 5,000 and is covered under each of the policies. That is the limit we have for the driver, and then if the owner is driving, he's also covered under that personal accident. So that is all that we have for the owner or the driver of the vehicle under all the 3 types of policies. So the owner is not covered under the Third Party Insurance Act, which was passed in 1958. You understand?
Yeah.
The owner can never be a third party. So you can arrange your own personal accident insurance to any amount that you want. And that personal accident insurance cover is just something small, I mean, in terms of premium. You can take, let's say, 100,000 policy, and you pay just about less than 1% of that.
Okay.
You can calculate. It's not that much.
I see.
So it's just that maybe the education hasn't gone down well.
Yeah, because this
I
even
remember
sounds very
somebody
new to
sent
me.
us to the NIC that the car that knocked him down was comprehensively insured, but we paid him under third party. You understand? So he thought that because the car was insured under comprehensive, all the expenses, everything that he has spent under this incident should be covered. You understand? So that is an interesting one. For you, the person, the driver or the owner of the vehicle, you have to arrange your own personal insurance to cover your injuries or death.
Interesting. I'm learning something new here. So with especially the very last bit of the fact that I can decide on a certain value for an
for
insurance and then
yourself,
start
yes.
paying a premium towards it.
Yes.
Is this something that you have at Downwell Insurance?
Yes, we have
It's
that
there,
one.
and all the others are
yes,
also
all
available.
the other
So I can just
companies
walk
have
in
it.
and start
And
making
start
some
it.
arrangements.
Yes.
I should be.
I think
use.
there's a new insurance bill which is, I think, with the Parliament, and when it's passed, some of these policies will also be compulsory.
Okay,
Now you
interesting.
have commercial buildings, private commercial buildings also compulsory.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is
Interesting.
important.
So
And that's
is it-
where, I mean, companies or institutions can also organize what we call workmen compensation,
Okay.
or employers' liability,
okay.
or group personal accident for their workers, and that would cover all these accidental injuries and death.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's something I always watch out for on the roads, especially when you are driving and then you are pulled over or you are stopped by the officials, security officials, that's the police, especially those from the DVLA. And then they check the stickers on the vehicles. There's something I want to know, lawyer. Is it compulsory to have the insurance sticker stuck on the windscreen of your vehicle?
Yes, it is.
It's compulsory.
Yes, together with the
road, yeah.
certificate. You see, the reason is this, as Mr. Watson did explain, that for third party. So the idea is that when you introduce a vehicle on the road, the thinking is that you introduce a risk on the road. And so the other users of the road must have the assurance that that vehicle is somehow covered. And the evidence for us is the sticker. So the sticker the law says it has to be affixed on the screen of the vehicle.
It's been stated clearly?
Yes. Well, unfortunately, I don't have the relevant section, but it has to be on the
Displayed.
sticker.
I know they use the word displayed.
Yes, on the sticker, on the windscreen. In fact, the law is even particular on the part of the windscreen that the sticker should be displayed. And sometimes some of my own colleagues, lawyers, and persons who are knowledgeable tend to keep the stickers in their letterbox and only pull them out upon. No, it has to be there. And when it expires, it's what you just said. Within 3 years, you must file your claim. And once there's a claim, his interest is to check to see whether the incident occurred within time. And if it occurred even a minute or a day out of time, the risk will not be covered. So it is always advisable that you do not wait until the last day to take up a renewal of an expiry within a month. Just like your license or your roadworthy, you can take up a renewal within a month to the expiration.
To the expiration, yeah, okay.
But you don't wait and begin to count the days.
But Kundia, this one, I let me find out. When it expires, isn't there some grace period that is allowed by law? Backed by law legally to
explain the industry benchmarks, but I know that once your policy has a tenure from one date to the other, once it expires, it falls into you don't get cover for the period. That's why in the wisdom of the industry and also the practice, which is encouraged that within a month to the expiration, you can take steps to renew.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Isn't there any grace period by law? Say, and it's done. Isn't there any grace period?
No.
So if it's today, it's today.
It's today. Because the point is that I'll tell you that there are a lot of other fake claims also around. So when you check the insurance certificates, it actually comes with the date and the time, even the seconds, as lawyer just said. Because some people get accident and just run quickly to look for the next insurance company to just do it, so that they can cover their risks. Yeah. You understand? So to avoid that, the insurance certificate will actually come with the date and the specific time with seconds. You understand? So you cannot fake the accident. But I also want to add that for the current electronic regime, you know, the NIC has introduced what we call the MID, Motor Insurance Database.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now the sticker is not the manual written one.
Yeah.
When we do motor insurance for you,
It's a
you
printout.
receive, yes, you get a soft copy of the sticker,
The policy.
and then it gives you USSD code and message that tells you from NIC, that tells you that your insurance is valid. You've actually renewed or incepted your policy. So I will advise the general public that now if you want to board any vehicle, you can pick the car registration number and send it to a short code, and then you see whether the insurance is valid or not.
What's the short code?
I will pick
I
it
find
up.
this very
Yes.
interesting. It's something
Yes.
that all of us
So you
should be
can
encouraged
just
to do.
check. If it is not valid, don't dare to
Patronize
bother.
yourself.
Because when there's any incident, you'll not be compensated.
And
by any
I believe
insurance
this is
company.
also a very good idea to take
Yes.
off the fake.
Yes.
You know, some people also, I hear some people use fake stickers and all that, and so you probably would have known from that
Yes,
application as well.
you know for that as well.
So, yeah.
I'll confirm it, but I think it's star 920 star 57 hash.
Star 920 star 57
Yes,
hash. I'm
but
sure
I'll
we'll
confirm it
confirm before we
yes,
leave here
yes,
today.
yeah.
So I need you to paint for me a scenario of a before and after an accident claim. What does it go through? I mean, what is it like?
Yeah, so if you say before, so it means that before the person comes for the insurance policy, so he comes to any insurance company, and then the person will be asked to go through a process by filling a proposal form, so you give accurate information. You understand? If you want to maybe pay less, because if your car is, for example, over age, 5 years, 10 years and above, you pay what we call old age. So some people want to pay, dodge that, but it will come after you during claims process.
Yeah.
So you get your documentation, you make sure that you get your sticker, you make sure that you receive the USSD information from the NIC, and make sure that your insurance is valid. And then you don't anticipate that. No, I don't think anybody would pray that I'll get an accident and go and claim. You understand? So it's always unforeseen and sudden.
Yeah.
Remember, accident can just occur in what? Twinkle of an eye, just in seconds. So when it does happen, what you need to do is to notify us. Sometimes people forget when they even have insurance, when they get an accident. It will get, especially when the person is injured. Maybe the person might have even gone coma. So once you become conscious, then you notify us, because there's a time that you need to report within 3 years, so that it doesn't go bad.
Out of time.
What you call status bad.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah, you understand. So you notify us, you go through a process again. We would give you a claim form. And mind you, that's why I said from the beginning, you need to tell us the truth. We call it utmost good faith in insurance. In legal parlance, I think it's good faith.
Yeah.
So it tells you that for insurance, the truth is very paramount. So you tell it every truth about the insurance that you're coming to take. So you tell us what happened, and then we start our investigation, because as I told you, there are a lot of fake claims around. I can tell you that even last month, there was this injury claim that a person said he suffered. He actually got all the documentations, medical report, police report, all the medical bills and all that.
And
so
they were
we
correct.
were just about to pay. Then somebody called me from where the purported incident happened. And he said, I've heard that this man is coming for a claim. The man wasn't even in the car in the first place.
Hey?
So how on earth, maybe the person went to maybe discuss with somebody and that person heard about it. So how on earth is the person coming for this claim? We did our investigation and lo and behold, was true.
He was not even in the vehicle.
He wasn't near where the incident even occurred.
Interesting.
So we actually invited him that, oh, we just come for your check. And I don't know whether he got one out of the post and then never came. You understand? So we conduct our investigation, but that investigation is not really, will not take time, because we also have timelines that the NIC, is a regulated industry. So NIC has given us a very tight timeline to go through. In all instances, for motor insurance claim, when you have all the documentations, you need just 5 days to make sure that you settle the claim.
Well, I believe all of us have heard it. I'm going to go on my very, very last break. Please stay with us. We'll be back shortly. All right, so welcome back. If you're just joining us, we've been in the men's lounge discussing motor insurance and road accidents. And I mean, there's been a lot of information. Some I never knew, especially where I need to have a personal insurance. And I'll go see Mr. Boateng, so we have a good discussion on that one, especially when it's below 1% that I probably will be paying. Mr. Kondia, I have a worry, which has to be with the fact that from today, we count down to election. It's even less than a month away. It's also Christmas. And in the introductory stages, we did mention that in election years, and also towards the end of the year is when there's a lot of... Are there any measures being put in place to curtail some of the unforeseen incidents that are likely? Because out of the data you have, you are likely to tell what could happen. Something has been different, but are there any measures that you have put in place to try and curtail some of these things?
Yeah, so we have just launched the Arrive Alive campaign, and since last month, we've had to put a lot of numbers out. Fortunately, let me say that for a long while, in terms of capacity, the number of people who work at the authority were not that much. So we're relying on a number of agencies, NGOs, and also volunteer groups. Fortunately, we've had to add up to our numbers. And there's a number of at least about 150 young men have joined us in various roles. And we're going to increase our visibility directly at these major trouble spots to engage with the drivers and also commuters directly. But on the other side, there's a lot that's happening on the media space, working through GJ and some of these media partners to put as much information as possible. I'm happy the bit of the insurance, and I'm sure we're going to have to feed that into our sensitization to draw the driver's attention to the fact that if they misbehave, there's a very limited compensation side, and also get on the side of the family. To have our mothers, our wives, and our kids draw these important, useful information to the attention of our parents who drive, so that when they get by the steering wheel, it's important they keep their house in order and drive very well, in order not to suffer these unexpected shocks. You suffer a crash and you potentially will be paid just about 4,000 or 5,000, and that may not be enough. But on a serious note, we are increasing sensitization on radio and also in our outreach. We are also trying as hard to take control of some major terminals across the country, where we intend to take pre-departure checks very serious. So before the vehicle leaves a particular terminal, there's a safety officer who would work with the operators to ensure that the insurance issues have been checked, the roadworthiness, the driver is safe, he's had sufficient rest, not taking in alcohol, and give a certain level of assurance to the passengers as to what they can do in the unlikely event that they are unhappy with the conduct of the driver. We trust that these are many basic things we do with them. They help to put the numbers down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's well said, and I totally agree with all the measures that you are putting in place. Have you been able to confirm the code, Mr. Watson?
Yes, please. It's as I said, it's correct. It's star 920 star 57 hash, and then
Okay.
you just you receive prompts, and then you go through, you see whether it is valid or not.
Nice one,
So
Mr.
very
Watson.
important.
Please add your last words. I mean, your last words to motorists
Yeah,
out there,
yes,
especially
yes.
all those people who drive and those who have not taken their insurance serious.
Yes, because before I say my last words, I think the most important issue when it comes to claims is you giving us the documentation, genuine documentation,
And accurate
to support,
information.
yes, accurate information to support your claim.
Mm.
And we realize that sometimes we repudiate or avoid claims because of a number of issues. One, if you don't have valid documentations, valid license, valid roadworthy, valid insurance, and all that. So every documentation that you have on the vehicle and yourself must be valid. And then don't drink. When we confirm that you drove under the influence of alcohol, you will not pay. In fact, anything that is against public policy or against the law, we will not pay. So they don't just we don't just repudiate claims, but we also go according to the law. And let me say that we are still in the COVID era, and therefore we must be able to stay safe. Make sure that your mask is on. And as the lawyer said, during elections, the incidents are high. We also realize that the elections and then Christmas. So it's very important that we stay safe. And then when it comes to insurance, Danwell, we are there for you. We have our tagline or slogan as, if it must be done, it must be done well.
Yeah.
And we do things well. We pay claims promptly. I mean, genuine claims.
Genuine claims promptly, yeah. So if it's not genuine, they shouldn't come.
If it's not genuine, they shouldn't come at all.
All right, so that is all time could allow us for this evening. Thank you so much for being part of this evening. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. I'm hopeful that we can be reviewing these things maybe quarterly or biannually so that we can know what's happening with the accidents and seeing if it's reducing or not. I'm going to go, and I'll hope to see you next week. Please, I say this again, stay safe. The COVID is real. We'll see you next week.